Have you ever finished a shift feeling like someone literally sucked the life right out of you? Like you gave your all, your compassion, your patience, your divine energy, and still walked away drained, questioning your purpose? You're not alone. Many Christian nurses silently face this invisible battle every day, a kind of spiritual warfare that goes far beyond healthcare stress or nurse burnout. It's the constant tug of war between caring for others and protecting your God-given peace. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Sometimes the patient isn't just physically sick, they're spiritually toxic. These energy vampires, those manipulative, narcissistic, or bitter individuals, can pull you into a whirlwind of emotional exhaustion before you even realize it. And in a profession built on compassion, we rarely talk about how to handle toxic people without guilt. But friend, even Jesus walked away to pray and recharge. You're not called to be drained, you're called to heal through faith. In this video, we'll uncover how to spot the toxic patient before they drain your divine energy, how to protect your spiritual boundaries without losing empathy, and how faith-based healing can restore your strength at work. This isn't just about surviving your shifts. It's about reclaiming your joy, renewing your purpose in healthcare, and learning how God restores your energy when you feel empty. So, take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear might just change how you show up in your calling forever. Recognizing when your energy is being drained by a toxic patient. It often starts subtly. That one patient who never seems satisfied, who questions every word you say, or guilt trips you for not giving them enough attention. A Christian nurse might see this as a test of compassion, but what's really happening is a slow leak of divine energy. These aren't just difficult personalities. They're often energy vampires in disguise. The danger? They leave you questioning your worth, your faith, and your purpose in healthcare. Recognizing this early is not selfish. It's a form of faith-based healing and spiritual protection. Think of it this way. Just as you monitor a patient's vital signs, you need to monitor your spiritual vitals. When you feel emotional exhaustion, irritability, or empathy fatigue creeping in, it's a red flag that your divine energy is under attack. Some nurses notice it when they start dreading specific rooms or feeling heaviness in their spirit after certain conversations. That's not just tiredness, that's spiritual warfare in real time. Remember, even Jesus withdrew from the crowds when his spirit needed renewal. Here's a practical faith-based approach. Before every shift, take 1 minute to pray for discernment. Ask God to help you recognize where to pour your compassion and where to set boundaries. Carry a small reminder in your pocket, maybe a cross or a verse like Isaiah 40:31, to ground your mind in peace when chaos surrounds you. Protecting your energy doesn't make you less caring. It allows you to care with clarity and strength. And as we'll see next, once you recognize the drain, the next step is learning how to build spiritual boundaries that last. Building spiritual boundaries without losing compassion. Many nurses fear that setting boundaries means being unkind. But that's one of the biggest lies the enemy uses to fuel nurse burnout and empathy fatigue. A boundary isn't a wall, it's a sacred line that protects your divine energy so you can serve from a place of peace. Even in Scripture, Jesus often withdrew to pray, not because he didn't care, but because he knew that divine strength must be renewed to keep giving. In healthcare spirituality, boundaries are an act of obedience, not rebellion. Think of a nurse who begins her shift with prayer, inviting God's strength at work before she even touches a chart. When a toxic patient starts pushing emotional buttons, she takes a deep breath, silently prays for patience, and responds with calm authority. That's faith-based healing in action, staying compassionate but not controlled. A Christian nurse can show grace while still saying, "I'm here to help you, but I can't allow disrespect." It's not harsh, it's holy courage. Setting that tone early prevents a toxic person from taking spiritual advantage of your kindness. One practical tip: create spiritual checkpoints during your shift. Step aside for a moment, whisper a prayer, stretch, or play a soft worship song in your mind. These micro-pauses restore clarity, protect your emotional wellness, and remind you of your purpose in healthcare. Compassion should never cost you your peace. True healing, both for patient and nurse, flows from a place of balance, where faith and medicine walk hand in hand. And once those boundaries are in place, The next question becomes, how do we refill our spirit when we've already been drained? Recharging your spirit after emotional exhaustion. Even the strongest Christian nurse can hit a point of emotional exhaustion where prayer feels heavy and compassion feels impossible. That's not a sign of weak faith. It's a signal that your spiritual tank needs refilling. Just as you wouldn't let a patient's IV run dry, you can't keep pouring from an empty spirit. When you're running on fumes, faith-based healing starts with permission. Permission to pause, to rest, and to let God's presence do the healing. Nurse mental health is not separate from faith. It's a key part of your ministry. Recharging your spirit doesn't always require a full vacation. Sometimes it's as simple as sacred silence. Try stepping outside the hospital during lunch, closing your eyes and thanking God for the breath in your lungs. Reflect on verses like Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Let that truth sink into your soul. Other times you may need fellowship. A short call with a fellow Christian nurse who understands the weight of healthcare stress can be a lifeline. God often works through community to restore your strength. Here's a practical example. One nurse started keeping a divine recharge journal, jotting down every small moment of peace, a patient's smile, a word of encouragement, a prayer answered mid-shift. Over time, that journal became her personal proof that God's purpose was still alive in her work. The goal isn't to eliminate the stress, it's to find peace in the middle of it. Because once you've recharged your spirit, the next step is learning how to maintain that peace, even when surrounded by toxic people and chaos. Maintaining peace and purpose amid healthcare chaos. Hospitals can sometimes feel like battlefields, alarms blaring, tempers flaring, and stress levels sky high. For a Christian nurse, this environment isn't just physically demanding, it's spiritual warfare in motion. Maintaining peace amid chaos requires more than self-control. It requires divine protection. The truth is, peace isn't found in the absence of noise. It's found in the presence of God. When your spirit stays anchored in Him, no toxic workplace healthcare drama or narcissist energy can steal your calm. One practical way to keep your focus? Start your day with intention, not reaction. Before clocking in, declare, God's strength is at work through me today. Visualize His light surrounding you like armor. When that toxic patient starts complaining or a coworker spreads negativity, remind yourself silently, this isn't my energy to carry. That simple mindset shift transforms chaos into opportunity, an invitation to practice faith over fear. Your peace becomes a testimony that speaks louder than words, reflecting Christ-centered healing in a stormy world. To sustain this, intertwine your routines with moments of worship, short prayers between patient rounds, a verse on your badge, a Christian podcast on your commute. These small acts build spiritual boundaries that guard your heart from emotional burnout. You'll find that even in the toughest shifts, your faith in healthcare becomes a living sermon of grace under pressure. And once peace is established, you can move into something even more powerful, discovering how to turn your daily challenges into a deeper, divine purpose in healthcare. Rediscovering God's purpose in your calling as a nurse. Every nurse begins their journey with a spark, a deep desire to heal, to serve, to bring light into places of suffering. But over time, that spark can dim under nurse burnout, endless paperwork, and the emotional pull of toxic people. Yet here's the truth. Your purpose was never meant to be buried under exhaustion. It's divine. God called you into this profession not just to treat bodies, but to touch souls. Faith and medicine were never meant to be separate. They are two sides of the same sacred mission. When you align your daily work with God's purpose for nurses, even the hardest days take on meaning. That patient who tests your patience might be your chance to practice grace. That exhausting shift could become a lesson in surrender. Every act of compassion, a gentle touch, a silent prayer, a word of encouragement, becomes a form of Christian motivation and healing through faith. You're not just surviving, you're ministering. And when you see your work through that lens, even spiritual fatigue begins to fade under divine perspective. Here's a practical way to keep that purpose alive. Dedicate your shift to God before it begins. Say, Lord, Work through my hands today. Let every heartbeat I monitor remind me of your power to restore life. Keep a verse like Colossians 3:23 close to your heart. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord. Because in the end, the healing you bring isn't just clinical, it's eternal. And that awareness opens the door to the final, most important part of your journey, applying everything you've learned to restore your divine energy and protect your soul every single day. So now you know, protecting your divine energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. Every time you choose to pause and pray instead of pushing through exhaustion, you're honoring the God who called you to heal. Every time you set a spiritual boundary or recognize a toxic patient for what they are, a test of faith, not a personal failure, you're growing in strength and wisdom. Remember, God restores your energy when you return to Him. He never meant for your light to burn out. He meant for it to shine with purpose, even in the darkest hospital rooms. Ask yourself, where in your daily routine are you letting negativity drain your peace? How can you bring more faith-based healing into your workspace? Maybe a short prayer for nurses before rounds, or a verse on your badge that reminds you of your purpose in healthcare. What would happen if you treated your own spirit with the same care you offer your patients? That shift in mindset could be the difference between burnout and Christ-centered healing. If this message spoke to your heart, don't let it stop here. Apply it, pray over it, live it, and most importantly, keep learning how to protect your peace and nurture your calling. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join this growing community of Christian nurses who believe that faith and medicine work best when guided by divine purpose. Your healing journey, for your patients and your soul, starts right here.